This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. Each week, I share expert advice and inside knowledge on how today's events and our local economy can affect your money. And in studio right now, Craig Gaudry with Windermere Real Estate East. There are some lingering uncertainties about the real estate market, possibly that you have here coming into the new year 2014. And what are they, and what does this mean for our local real estate market? Well, that's why I've invited Craig into studio. And first time Craig coming in to visit me. Thank you so much.
Well, it's great to be here, Tina. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Craig is a licensed real estate broker with Windermere Real Estate and has more than 26 years experience in real estate business. He offers an outstanding level of knowledge combined with exceptional professionalism, and his successful track record is due to a straightforward and honest approach with his clients. Craig's reputation in real estate is unsurpassed, as he is ranked in the top 1% of real estate agents on a national level. He is a regular top producer on Seattle East Side and has been rated best in client satisfaction by Seattle Magazine. His extensive network of local, regional, national, and international groups gives him a competitive edge in an ever-changing real estate market. And quite a bio, Craig. I know I've been trying to get you in studio for quite a while, but all of my guests being experts and the best in our local market, you guys are busy.
Yeah, the market keeps us moving. It's been an interesting year in real estate, and we're thinking even it's going to be very exciting and even more flamboyant year in 2014.
So let's talk about that. What do you think's coming in 2014 for our real estate market?
Well, as a lot of people know, in 2013, we definitely had a housing shortage. Mm-hmm. And I think the housing shortage is going to have some improvement due to some new construction that is due to come around. But I don't really think it's going to be enough to alleviate the shortage. I would kind of use the baseball analogy of the infield versus the outfield. On the infield areas, which would be really close in Seattle, Bellevue, Kirkland, close in Redmond, those areas close to the center of our metro area, the shortage will be much more severe. And as you get a little farther out and you go north and south and east, you're going to see a little more easing of inventory because there's more land for new construction to be built.
Got it. So with short inventory, you know what that means for our real estate prices. Not a lot of buyers out there, just not enough inventory to go around. And Craig, what do you see about the median house price then?
Well, I think in this coming year, 2012 over to 2013, and that year over year, there was about a 15% increase in median sales price in King County. On a national basis, a lot of experts are predicting even a 16% increase in median home prices year over year, going from 2013 to 2014. In our area, usually beats the national average. Does. So it could be a very interesting year. I think the more inventory we get will help stabilize that growth and make it in a manageable way so it helps everybody without hurting people at the same time.
Yeah. And one of the things that may possibly slow down a little bit, again, not much because the cost of borrowing is going to stay very, very cheap, just not quite as cheap as we've seen because the Fed pulling back on quantitative easing. But with the interest rates, if they do go up maybe 1%, let's say, what do you think that means for the real estate market?
Well, obviously, as you know, being a financial expert, that any increase in the interest rates can have a significant impact on someone's buying power. If a rate was at 4.5%, for example, and it went to 5%, that would decrease somebody's buying power by probably close to 5%. Yep. If it goes, a full point, that could be 10 or 12, just depends on what kind of situation they are on their loan. So that's why I'm really strongly recommending to anyone who's thinking of buying real estate this year, I'd be doing it sooner than later to take advantage of the rates and move in that direction if possible.
Of course. And what about financing? And this is my arena, but I want get some opinion on you with the financing and lending. What do you feel with that?
Well, I think that as rates go up, if there is any easing in lending criteria, for example, I think that might be a significant factor that would help sustain any type of buying surge that I really think is going to happen in 2014. So I think, depending how FICO scores are looked at and other things, I've read things that said that it looks like we might have some easing in some of these categories moving forward. I'd defer to you on that for more specific information, but any of that at all would just kind of help keep the train moving in a positive direction for sales and in the whole nation, for that matter.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in Money Chat, with finding out the conforming limits are going to stay where they're at. I mean, it's pretty amazing, and the low down payment options that we have, even getting into a $500,000 plus home, really is going to help. And in our market, especially if you're getting into the prime parts of Seattle, it's expensive to get into the market. So having the ability to do those lower down payments. Now let's talk a little bit about unemployment rate. How do you think that the national and the regional unemployment rate will affect the real estate market?
Well, I think that, just like we talked about interest rates, I mean, everybody's used to, interest rates being so low right now, for example. When I started in real estate in 1987, interest rates were 13.5%. When they dropped to 10 or below, after I'd been in business for 4 or 5 years, we were doing backflips at 10% interest rates. Everybody was excited to help people. And so obviously the dynamics have changed, but how that relates to unemployment rates, I mean, they got pretty high and they've been trending down pretty well. Now our area, I mean, we're so fortunate to live in the Seattle Puget Sound region with companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Boeing, just to name a few. I mean, the growth of the business sector in our area as a whole is one of the top producing markets in the nation, and I think this trend is just going to continue to get better. So we're in a great spot, and I think that unemployment rate staying low is really going to just help fuel more people to be able to buy property, upgrade their current properties. I think it's a good situation.
And we're, being Port Rim City, we're actually the lowest in comparison to all of our Port Rim cities. So it's exciting, here to see that we have so much more if we're comparing with the other Port Rim cities like San Francisco. And so what about inflation? How do you see that impacting the real estate market?
Well, again, what's so interesting with inflation, and Andy talked about that a little bit on just in general basis. But again, when I was a kid growing up in the 70s, I mean, they did what was called a misery index. They took the interest rate and they took the inflation rate and they combined the two numbers together. Back during the Carter administration, they did that a lot. And that misery index was over 20% when you combined interest rates and inflation rate. You look at where we're at now with really super low inflation, and we've got low interest rates. It's a phenomenal time on a historical basis for people. And so I think they're going to actually be able to keep the gains, hopefully, that they obtain, that the equity that homeowners gain when they own a place and it goes up in value. Hopefully those gains will be something they're going to be able to keep in a sustainable manner. Moving forward into the future.
So all of these things that we've listed in kind of predicting what 2014 might bring for real estate, somebody that's thinking of buying a home, what is your advice to them right now at the beginning of the year? Because a lot of people, they're new year. I mean, they're ready to get out into the market now and start looking for homes. What are you telling them?
Well, I think that the neat thing, again, that we just talked about, low inflation, low interest rates. Sure, the inventory is low, which makes it a little bit of a challenge depending where they're looking to buy. But if they're working with a really skilled agent, they're going to be able to help them navigate that low inventory and still be able to find the type of property that they want. And then when they do obtain that, then hopefully they're going to be able to look forward to sustainable appreciation in the equity that they obtain. And so it's just, I think it's one of the best times that I've seen in my career, without question. I've never seen it, all the dynamics lining up so favorably.
And if you're listening right now and you're thinking of getting into the market, if you don't have representation, I literally have one of the best in the market, top 1% in real estate right here. Pick up the phone, give the show a call, 1-888-987-0570. Again, it's 1-888-987-0570. I know Craig and his team would definitely make time to assist and help you out. So, Craig, with your sellers, what are you and your team talking to your sellers about with everything that we've broken down for 2014?
Well, if you look back at what happened here in 2013, I mean, with this low inventory, it was definitely a very hot market for sellers. Sellers were able to sell their homes quickly for very good prices. And I think this year in 2014, there's going to be a little more inventory coming on to play, but it's still going to be an excellent time for sellers to sell. Because with this low inventory, if a home is priced right and it's in a good neighborhood, it's probably going to get multiple offers on the house. And then that's where the skill and expertise of the agent that they're working with to figure out how they can obtain as high of a sales price as possible, but not get too greedy and pick a wrong buyer who then 2 or 3 days later backs out because they basically felt the squeeze of a multiple offer negotiation. So there's really a lot of finesse in making sure that you pick the right buyer when you're selling a home and still try to get as much money as possible. But there's a little bit of flow that has to happen with that.
Of course. And you and I both know that representation is everything when it comes to anything that we're purchasing, not just real estate or choosing who you're going to have represent you for a mortgage or the advice that you're going to get regarding your retirement. You've got to work with those quality people and ones that have the experience. So what advice do you have for my listeners, Craig?
Well, I think when anyone thinks about buying or selling a home, the first thing they really need to look at is basically who are they going to select as an agent to represent their interest in buying or selling. It's by far the most important decision they're going to make. If I wasn't in real estate and I was selecting an agent, I would know that issue for a fact. The current market's very tricky. Some properties are priced too high. Some are priced too low, believe it or not. And some are just right. Maybe as close to Goldilocks as we can get, right? But the thing is that it takes a very skilled and experienced realtor to know the difference. And a very skilled realtor will also have the right know-how to negotiate the best price terms and conditions, whether you're buying or selling a home. Because what we have to remember is we don't get what we deserve. We get what we negotiate when it comes to buying or selling property.
Isn't that so true?
That's very true.
So, Craig, what about getting back to kind of what's happening in the market? What do you see going on with our distressed property? Any changes that you see in 2014 as far as what the banks are doing, the amount of properties? I mean, a couple years ago, we were talking about the shadow inventory, which the risk of that, which never happened. We're wishing for it. But do you see any more properties becoming available in that arena to help with the lack of inventory, or not really?
Well, I don't think it's really going to have a significant impact. Again, reverting back to the infield areas that I discussed, the closer in areas in the Seattle, King County metro areas. When you get farther out in North Snohomish and down to South Pierce and some farther out places east as well, you might have a little more impact. But I don't really think it's the shadow inventory that everybody's talked about. I don't think it really measures up that much in our marketplace. I think those days are gone.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It's just funny how things change so much when what was a concern turned into be a wish and a really want for it to happen, and just kind of never did. They'll
still be there to some degree.
Yes,
it's not like they're not going to just all of a sudden go away. I mean, they're out there. But you think about it, when the market's appreciating, banks and people are going to say, hey, we can sell these properties and make money. Why are we just going to blow them out? Nobody's blowing out properties now.
Yeah. And what are you saying to your investors? For listeners out there right now that maybe, the opportunity to add to your real estate now, being that the cost of money is still so low. What advice do you have there?
Well, my advice for real estate is usually always more of a long-term basis. You've always heard about people wanting to buy stuff, fix them up, turn around, sell them. That's a really tricky thing. And in a lot of cases, by the time you have to pay a bunch of other people to do the remodeling and all the things to flip a property and sell it, you run out of time and money and effort. On a long-term hold, I think it's an excellent time for people to buy another property, turn it into a rental investment. In 15 years, they can pay off a property and they've got money for their kids' college. There's all kind of great things they can do with buying real estate for a long-term hold.
Great advice, Craig. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It was great having you finally here in studio. Look forward to having you back.
Well, Happy New Year again to you, Tina.
Thank you so much, Craig. This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for being here on my first show of the new year. Excited to be back next Sunday, same time, same place, right here on 570 KVI. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.